to be played with AShe because he can't bring that same kind of engage that other supports do. AShe does that for him. They combo up incredibly well. So I'd now be expecting maybe even like a triple friendly audience lock-in of having the AShe and then Braum and Sejuani. They can look towards any of these kind of options soon. Now the Renekton's been locked in for Bin though. That's going to be another power point for him. Breathe did play that Gragas into it. Did fine in the individual matchup, I guess, in terms of those side lanes. So maybe he can hold his pick for a little bit later if he has stuff like the Cannon, the Gragas, and the Gnar all available to go into that Renekton. He doesn't necessarily have to pick that now.
Could go all Freljordian here. You could also go Game of Thrones and go a Song of Ice and Fire. Go for the Brand in the jungle.
Yeah.
Alongside your Icy bot lane. Plenty of options available for Weibo. We'll see what direction they do want to go.
We're still in Season 2. It's Game 2, so that's a great thing to go for right now.
Yeah, honestly,
just make sure we don't have like a best of 8.
Wait a second, no, we're in Season 14. We're slightly behind on that one. And to be honest, maybe it's one of those things where, you know, a lot of TV shows kind of dip in the middle. They start to lose their way, and then it brings it back at the end. You know, maybe we're in the good seasons again. I feel like it's been a pretty good season.
We'll get back to that when we get to the entire year. We'll see how that goes through. It's when we do look at that Braum, the AShe Braum, very, very powerful. We knew that was likely to get locked in. For going that jungle pick and going towards Xiaohu on that Zeri again, he's been really, really prioritizing this. Did get picked out a lot in side lanes in that last game, which we didn't expect him to see, but I think that's more credit to BLG's play than Xiaohu's own.
Will the Ziggs be locked in, or will it be that Ezreal for the side of BLG? I'd love to see the Ziggs again. I think it's such a strong pick. And I just love watching Elk play it as well. I feel like he's so good with those skill shots. I mean, the chunk he got on Light in the mid lane against an Ezreal, just slamming every single hit. And Elk will go for that Elkenheimer again. And we'll see what the bans are going to be now. As your bot lane is in, your mid lane is in, but jungle still undecided, and immediately Ivan taken off the board.
Wouldn't surprise me if they ban away the Sejuani in the next lock-in as well. Worth noting, BLG could also put that Maokai down to support, pick a jungle on 4 if they have another takeaway they want to do as well, and then allow themselves to have you know, last pick for night. That doesn't matter as much because you've already got this area on the other side. But if they really want to be mean to Tarzan, you could double back jungle, flex the Maokai down to support, pick another jungler, so it's effectively a triple ban. But hey, unlikely because they can get themselves that last pick jungle counter pick to give way, or rather the last pick. Actually, no, it doesn't even matter. They're not even going to be counter pick on this one, but they can still really try to remove some champions for Tarzan here. All the same, that is the Sejuani takeaway.
So trying to shut down Tarzan, and Weibo trying to just set up for the solid bottom lane, getting rid of the Rel, just trying to remove things that are going to be exceptionally good alongside Ziggs. Like you say, the Maokai technically a flex. I don't really expect that to be going down to the bottom side, though, to be honest. Would anticipate Wade taking that to the jungle, especially with an MVP performance in the first game. Rakan taken off the board to deny On's probably his signature pick, really.
It's one of many. We actually have a lot of good Rakan players in the LPL, so that one is very much signature of many players in our role. So now you see the champions being hovered over for that support role. Look, none of these are going to do great into Braum in that support role. You do need a support which can combo up with the Ziggs. You are looking at the Leona and the Alistar, but Braum really does counter them. This will very much be Elkin on soaking as much golden XP from the first few waves as they can, because it is going to be a bit of a torrent 2v2.
We'll see how they fare against that AShe Braum that is just so obnoxious to deal with in the first few levels. And now Weibo have to lock in that top side. They already know that they're against a Renekton and a Maokai, so they have all the information in the world. And still, a few carry junglers available if they do want to go AP. I was about to say Brand Karthus. It will be Tarzan slamming that Karthus for himself. And Bin might get a taste of his own medicine. The Gnar into Renekton is a matchup Bin loves to play out. Breathe. He's been playing just as long as Bin has. He's got plenty of experience in the matchup himself.
Yeah, so Breathe has options. He played the Gragas the last time. He can go towards the Gnar, can go towards the Cannon. Does lock in the Gnar. So Gnar going to be someone that can very much battle that Renekton. It is a skill matchup, but it's one which typically goes slightly towards the Gnar's way, depending on how good that Gnar player is. So, last pick for night, wouldn't surprise me to see him go towards this Corki again. Makes a lot of sense. It's fine into the Zeri, and you've got a strong, strong front line to keep Valkyrie forwards, and having them as your bulwarks there.
I mean, it looked great in the previous game. very quiet early game, explosive end to the game. As I think Knight got like 8 kills within the last 8 minutes or something crazy. Incredible performance in those team fights. And I like that BLG are essentially just running it back. Episode slight change in the support position, but aside from that, exactly the same composition as the last time around. And Weibo are the ones that have completely changed things up. They needed a new angle and they found it.
They get themselves that AShe Braum, very powerful duo. And of course, if that arrow starts landing on people, then you have the Braum passive follow-up, you have Zeri flying over the wall, you have Karthus calling in the Requiem artillery down to someone's head as well. BLG do need to be very, very careful not to get caught too out of position. The Alistar can shrug off the AShe arrow, no one else.
Stalwart members of this roster all year long. Let's see if the 2v2 can finally go in their favor. This second game feels like it's going to be a test for Weibo, doesn't it? Because, you know, losing the first game of the series, fair enough. But when you swap sides to that blue side and you completely change your strategy coming in, like, you've then got to show that it was worth it. You've then got to show that you got more in the tank, and you're against the very best in the league. You're against the reigning champs that want to make a repeat of that fact. And we'll see what Weibo have cooked up for us.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the better things of a best of 5. I think League of Legends as a game shines in best of 5s because you get multiple chances to make these kind of calls, make a big strategy shift and say, all right, last thing wasn't working, let's try something different. Weibo have done that right here. They have walked in with a Braum level 1. And of course with the Karthus, it's not the Zyra, but it is still very, very fast at clearing through jungle camps. It's one of the best things about Karthus throughout his entire history as a jungler. Of course, I say his entire history as a jungler. Of course, used to be one of the OG lane picks as well.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, I suppose, but he's had a couple of years at this point where we'll know that their invaders come through. Both junglers have good information on each other's pathing. Tarzan will know that Wei is heading into his jungle. Flash in.
Flash from Crisp. Gets Elk's own flash out. I'm not sure if... I guess that's good, because, I mean, Crisp can jump in fairly easily using his W in a lot of situations. We'll see how that progresses.
I think that does make a big difference here if Tarzan can get himself down to
the
hang on,
body
breathe.
block! Breathe! Getting completely outplayed by Bid as he flashes in for the Q, but he's not quite in range. Can't finish the kill.
Well, this top lane is touted as a skill matchup. Depends how good you are at it. Breathe just about lives. He has to recall, has to get himself a teleport back towards this top side. Means his first back of the game isn't going to be great. He's going to get himself, what, like a potion or a refill pot? I don't even know how much he's... But yeah, he gets a refill pot. They might try and dive him. He does potentially get enough rage off of this. If he gets level 3, I think the dive is off. I think he is going to get that. So it should just be about safe.
All right. I think maybe Wei hanging around just in case Tarzan was doing any shenanigans and trying to move up to the top side. Not sure. Either way, it will be Breed surviving. It's his TP already used, though, as Bin heads back to base. He crashed a massive wave, so he knows he can safely just walk back up to that top lane's TP advantage for BLG.
Tarzan returning back to enemy jungle after he gets himself a couple of camps on his own side. Wei did manage to take the entire... Well, no, not the entire quadrant, because I believe Tarzan managed to get his own wolves, so that's definitely going to be a nice little extra bit for Tarzan. This is one of the things we've seen about particularly Maokai versus farming junglers. Your early pathing on the Maokai side of that matchup needs to be really quite chiseled. If you do miss out on an extra camp more than you should do, if you don't quite manage to get yourself the extra XP in the early game, the farming jungler, whether that's a Lilia, a Zyra, or in this case a Karthus, can just take over the entire map very, very quickly. So really now looking at Wei to say, okay, you managed to take those camps from topside. How are you going to continue to keep yourself in the game before Tarzan starts to really take over? You almost got a Flame Horizon that last game. It didn't matter, which does... Of course, you don't always have to be there in terms of your farm level there, but you do need to be somehow impacting the map before this Karthus really gets a lot of value.
Yeah. We'll see if Wei can find that influence. He keeps on trying to move up towards this top side. Breathe will be stunned. Has his flash available, though. I don't anticipate this will lead to a kill here. Wei ends up sort of wasting his time. His chickens are up, and I think that's the direction he'll head in now. And as you say, Tarzan, very happy to see Wei waiting around in that top side. Are they really going to try and force a dive?
He might flash over, try and get the empowered something here. Here he goes!
Okay, the stun into the root, into the knockback, into the kill! First blood for Bin!
Gnar down, no teleport. Bin gets himself the advantage, and Wei gets his impact on the map. We were just talking about this beforehand. When you're on the Maokai side of this matchup versus one of these AP carries, you got to get something done. You're not going to be able to keep up and farm. You need to make sure that you get yourself some impact somewhere on the map. He gets himself an assist into that top lane kill, which can very much flip this matchup. If Renekton stays ahead of that Gnar, it can get really, really bad. There's going to be a plate potentially over here too with the amount of ranged minions hitting. This Bin is a very, very happy Crocodile.
And he still has TP, if he even needs it. I mean, that's a pretty big wave that's underneath the tower. He might not even need to TP. I feel like you probably just do at this point anyway, because, I mean, how much are you really losing? We'll see if he's going to commit to that one, and there we go. Joins the lane again. Tabby's already.
Yeah, so one of the big things about using teleports as a solo laner now, you kind of, this is about the last time you want to do it, because if you leave it any later, the first kind of few minutes of unlocked teleport are not going to be available to you because it's on cooldown. You want to use it around about, you know, the 4 or 5 minute mark if you can. Get yourself a good first back, because at the end of the day, it's not like you can use it to go across the map too easily to anything else, because you can't use that teleport in the same way you did multiple years ago, of course. That's one of the other big changes that's come through to League, which is racked up as, yeah, Bin, buddy. You've got yourself that lead. The double ward isn't actually helping you, though. I didn't know if you knew that one.
Yeah. Misses the brush on the first one, unfortunately, I think. There's Wei moving up. And Bin's got a massive wave pushing towards him. I'm not sure this is a set of grubs that BLG can realistically fight. Xiaohu moves in and Crisp has roamed up as well. There will just be 3 grubs, I think, going the way of Weibo. Wei realizes this, tries to move down towards that bottom side instead, and will hopefully look to trade for a Drake.
Wei gonna potentially get himself Scuttle Crab here. Wei has not got no flash, and he's walking up against an Ashe Braum. Here comes On, though.
Oh, great flash from Light. He knew that was coming. And Crisp happy to block all of the damage. They send BLG away. No prio bot, no prio top means no objectives for BLG.
Close run stuff. Great flash out from Light. That could have actually been a kill. If Chris manages to tag a Q onto the flashless Maokai, that could have been a kill there too. And you can see now the problem is, wait, he went for a huge old play. Yes, Chris getting chunked down, but look at Tarzan's XP. Level 6 to level 4 from Wei. Level and a half up, almost 2 levels up onto this Maokai. This is the problem with this kind of matchup. The Maokai is going to fall behind here. You need to make sure you're careful of this now. Karthus is going to put out so much more damage than the Maokai can ever hope to answer.
Yeah, he will fall behind. The question is how far, and the answer right now seems to be extremely, as Tarzan moves through to look for more. Xiaohu's just going to get the kill. Onto Wei, abandoned by his team and taken out by the invade of Weibo. Very nicely played.
So, Wei is not going to be a point of power this time. Had himself that MVP from game 1. This is going to be a very, very hard game for the jungler of BLG. Got Tarzan now, who's going to be farming up a Storm. And I think the problem now for BLG is, can you stop Weibo from getting towards the powerful point where Tarzan is farming up massively, and also you have these Ashe arrows coming out from the middle of nowhere. I think as soon as those Ashe arrows start coming online, I think BLG are going to start being really, really afraid.
I don't know what it is, but watching Corki trade just never gets old to me in the way that, like, all other champions these days have, like, crazy animations and stuff. Corki just, like, walks at you and stands still and wins the trade for it. It's like...
Do you remember that one Star Wars parody by Family Guy? They did that for, episode 4. It's like, oh yeah, we can outrun this Star Destroyer. Yeah, you know, like I'll show you the moves I've got. Did you just slowly drift to the left?
Yeah,
that's all the movements I've got.
Oh my god, is he listing lazily to the left? I do remember that one. It's a classic. It's a classic.
It is.
Something dark side.
Yeah, apparently George Lucas really enjoyed that too. So it was a loving parody. It wasn't laughing at the movie. It was laughing. No, it did laugh at it sometimes, but it was laughing with it too at other points. Yeah, did a healthy amount of both.
Oh dear, that feels like a long time ago, because it was a long time ago.
It probably was. Yeah.
Everyone in chat now suddenly either feeling very old or wondering what on earth we are talking about. Probably more of the latter. I don't know. Family Guy's not that old. Either way, BLG being challenged a little bit in this early game, and it's great to see. It's good to see Weibo coming back in this game number 2, not just falling behind in the same way. And just look at that lead that Tarzan has in the jungle. That is absolutely obscene. The 35 CS lead at this point in the game. That's only going to get worse. And especially if Weibo starts to take some towers down and Wei loses control of his own jungle. I mean, that will... We're well on the way to a Flame Horizon. We're only 30 CS up right now, but if Weibo do take control of the map, it feels inevitable.
And he gets himself Blackfire Torch in his first pack. So he's not going towards the Liandry's. He wants himself a little bit more cooldown reduction on that first item without going towards the Malignance. He has gone for the Dark Harvest, hasn't gone towards the First Strike. We saw a game just the other day which was First Strike, Malignance first, we're just spamming ultimates and trying to get that First Strike on cooldown. Blackfire Torch, I'd say I don't love the item. I do just feel if you're going to go towards a burn item, just go Liandry's. But this one at least gives you some extra mana and some extra cooldown reduction for the brief moments where you do need that from the jungle.
Certainly can help, and like you say, that bit of CDR can make all the difference. On now trying to move in alongside Wei as they start grubs up on this top side. This time around, Bin didn't freeze the wave or not fan out the wave at least. And it will mean BLG are the ones here first. Tarzan's in the area, as is Xiaohu. Toying with the idea of contesting, but I'm not sure that this is a pit they can really get involved in right now. Crisp just arriving on the scene. Tries to get on tonight, might be able to force a flash on that top side. And in the meantime, Breathe is just going to go down.
That was a sick punish by Odd. As soon as Breather pops his head over, it's like, oh yeah, got a ward on this Alistar, surely I can get some poke out. Nope, you are within flash pull range. Gets himself booted back into the team. Great punish from On. On has been probably one of the biggest players for BLG in terms of the criticism leveled at them. On has had a lot more off performances than On in this summer compared to what we usually know of him, but he has, of course, that huge upper ceiling as well. Great punish from him. See if he can continue to do that through this game. So Weibo lose themselves those grubs. They leave themselves a kill and Breathe. He did just die. Are we just gonna give him the old Dyrus treatment?
He's got flash available. TP comes through from Night. Breathe, you are going nowhere, my friend. Instant engage, and look at him just get one shot. Even the locket comes through from Wei to shield away all of the turret damage. And it's Elk that TP'd, sorry, not Knight. So that will be one dead tower.
Yeah, they've got the grubs. It's not 6 grubs this time, but it is still Ziggs. And Alkenheimer once again online in a cinema near you, I guess, as BLG looks to really start accelerate through that. It's gone for the Seraphs this time, so different itemization from him, which means that he's going to be much more safe to some of the aggressive plays.
Oh, Light takes a bad trade, but Bin's out of cooldowns. We'll have to back away for a minute here, and On moving over as Crisp was potentially looking for a bit more pressure, but Control Ward denies any vision. And Wei's moving down to this bottom side of the map as well, so I imagine the action will diffuse here, but not a single plate was taken by Light, despite him trying to trade opposite.
And he had himself a couple of grubs there too. Would have been really nice to get something, because Weibo multiple times now across this game, and then of course the last game where it's much more apparent, they're losing out on those cross maps. They're losing out on just the strong side where they're trying to go towards. BLG are making an even trade, and that's a problem, because that means that BLG gets to kind of trade a good play for themselves with like an okay trade on the other side. It's okay, because they managed to just get a little bit more out of both sides of the map than what they really should be doing. Weibo, I think they've done really well at getting Tarzan into the game. I think Tarzan's pathing and the way he's gotten ahead on individual level is very strong, but this is a huge issue now that suddenly Ziggs is very much online, and that Renekton is a huge issue. Tarzan isn't able to carry this game alone. He needs other strong members to stand in front of him and allow him, one, positioning on the map, and two, positioning in team fights. The Karthus cannot be a one pillar alone in a team fight.
I mean, the fact that somehow Tarzan is only 100 gold ahead, despite being practically double the CS of Wei, is really something else. BLG now looking for a fight. Crisp the target, who tries to disengage with his ultimate, tries to block the damage onto Tarzan. There's only so much you can block, and Tarzan down to 400, walking away with his life. But Knight is behind the play, but he's outnumbered as Xiaohu is doing the same on the opposite side. Knight gets into the pit, but I think he's stuck. No flash available. The volley sets up for the Requiem, and the mid laners will fall on both sides of the fight.
How that ends up in a 1-for-1 is beyond me, but it somehow works out. I thought Tarzan was dead to rights. He ended up getting hit by the Maokai ult and got comboed onto, but doesn't go down. So Weibo, they do get themselves an even fight there. It's now going to be a trade of Dragon for potentially two lanes of pressure for Weibo. We'll see whether Breathe can finish off that turret up in that top side. I think with no teleports from BLG, that is likely to happen. However, on the other side, BLG, they are going to be able to answer with that bot lane outer turret at the same time. So BLG, they don't get the clean play they wanted this time. They've typically been getting them, but they are still going to get themselves that extra tower. That bot side too. So, starts off with a good ult from Chris, but this is a problem here. He hops to try and block the Maokai, and Tarzan has a bit of a mind blip there as he walks into another tendril instead, so he still gets hit. I thought the team fight would be over there. I thought Tarzan would just die, and that could be the end of it, but manages to flash over, get into Knight there too, whereas Xiaohu also, if we're looking at both mid laners, goes on a little bit of a journey too far.
I mean, it was like nicely played by Weibo to punish Knight for his deep TP. You know, Light stays there, ults him, etc. But it also means that then you've not got your AD carrier as a part of the rest of the fight. And similarly, Xiaohu threatening on the opposite side saves Tarzan, but answers with his own life. Messy fight, chaotic fight at least. And BLG find themselves a gold advantage as they look for a Herald as well as that Drake that they got for themselves. They were even in grubs. And they've got this Ziggs that is going to start really working away at these towers. And it does feel like a game that, in the early game, was all about Weibo. Suddenly, is starting to slip away from them.
Saw this a little bit in game 1 too, where Weibo managed to stall out the game and at least extend it a little bit. Of course, it didn't matter when BLG walked away with a million dragons and then stole the Baron away from them too. That was probably not the best part of that game for Weibo, but as we go into this one, very interested to see if we're going to get ourselves a genuinely proper team fight. We had quite a lack of them in game 1. It wasn't really about 5v5s. It's all about macro and setting up. I actually want to see a full 5v5 this time, particularly when you have a Karthus who is this strong. I want to see whether Tarzan can get himself some really big damaging team fights.
Yeah, no DPS Requiems just yet. They've all been generally end-of-fight Requiems. That Blackfire Torch headed towards Leandri's as well. Big chunk onto light there from Elk. I love the way that LPL Ziggs pretty much just blast that all out and go down as soon as somebody looks hittable. The R button is immediately smashed. It's BLG try and get these waves under control. I think the biggest story, honestly, of this game is the fact that this Gnar was picked up for Breathe, but with Wei's influence in that topside, Bin is, 1,500 gold ahead in the matchup.
Yeah, and he got given that full tower alongside Elk kind of coming up for that satchel charge. Renekton can cause a lot of issues. Big fight towards the spot side now. Here comes the arrow.
Oh, arrow's not quite going to land. Phase Rush saving the day once again for Wei. That is one speedy tree, making palms look slow. Because it turns out they are slow.
Yeah, it turns out they only move 20 meters a year. Yeah, that's not quite the same as this one. No objectives up just yet. Weibo needs to be a little bit careful retreating through from this river. Of course, the Dragon Pit's not exactly easy to get away from. Xiaohu, a little bit easier for him to play in these side lanes in this game compared to that last one. Game 1, where BLG were really punishing Xiaohu in that side lane. Weibo much better at moving towards the lane. This time you see that the spectators were actually highlighting that ward there. If there was an overextension from Weibo, there could have been a huge teleport coming through. BLG always threatening those big decisive teleports with Herald coming through. Might just do that, but actually Weibo pulled the trigger first.
Deep TP comes through from Breathe as he turns Mega Gnar, but I don't know if he's really going to have a way in. And Alistar's so good at denying that engage as well. Herald comes through, and the wave will be cleared from distance by Elk. Elk was basically towards the mid lane as he throws that ult as well, so he clears mid and bot simultaneously.
That is some peak 2014 League of Legends. For those that missed Season 4, the reason Barra buff is the way that it is basically because of Ziggs doing stuff like this, where you think you've got an ability to push in a side lane. Nope, Ziggs ult, that's it, wave's gone. There are reasons why we try to close out the game with big game-ending objectives like that nowadays. BLG, they do manage to get themselves that bot lane turret. That Ziggs ult actually is quite important there, because it means that Weibo can't push in with another wave to try and answer and guide towards that bot side. So BLG, despite the fact that they haven't blown open this game in the way that they did that first game, at least eventually they managed to blow open that first game, they are still getting themselves slight advantages, and another Maokai is going to push the tempo forwards.
Xiaohu has to stick around because of the roots, and now the dive kicks off. Look at that damage. On, get an auto in. Okay, Elk finishes the job. Thought he was going to walk away for a second. That's another tower taken. BLG are so decisive.
Xiaohu picked off on a side lane again. We praised him for it. That's an Ashe arrow. I'm not sure that's going to lead to that much. It is onto Onia's flash and ult. I don't really think there's a play there. So Weibo, once again, their counterpunch is really lacking. BLG more decisive, and they're using this Maokai ultimate to force plays really readily.
Elk with quite aggressive positioning here, but On's there to protect him. Elk just has no fear, does he? I'm not sure I've ever seen Elk positioned defensively in the last, like, 3 years. I don't know. I mean, to be honest, in his entire career, back when he was Jomog, he wasn't exactly famous for his defensive positioning, was he? Yeah, I mean, insane stuff coming out from BLG. I can't believe quite the lead that they've built for themselves, considering how that early game seemed to be going for Weibo. Being used that dominance just to threaten in the mid lane and defend that tower as Knight pushes in the top side. It does mean Weibo get a chance to get on the Drake again.
So Wei gonna walk down towards the spot side, no support, so he's just gonna do a bit of a safari, watch the wildlife, sees that dragon go down. Xiaohu will finally break open this bot lane outer turret. It has been delayed for a while though. BLG have been making sure it's not had easy access towards that turret. Still good goal for the side of Weibo. Thing which we need to be really aware of now, Maokai ult completely changes the game when it's off cooldown. We've seen that multiple times when it's come through to these big sieges. Wei has his ultimate back up again now. Just came back off of cooldown. BLG, they have that big go button again. I think particularly they will be looking at the next inner turret and just seeing exactly what they can get. They don't even necessarily need themselves a Baron to start looking towards them. They can really just start forcing the plays.
And I think the really interesting thing about the way that BLG play is they so readily group up in between waves, right? They push those waves out, and it's like, you know, that's kind of the core of side laning is you push your wave out and then you go group for a second. But usually that's like sides coming to the mid lane. It feels like with BLG, they do it in all directions, and that is a deep, deep TP from Bin. Tarzan, the target, and the target is down. Assassination from BLG. There's ults onto On. But that locket saves the day. Xiaohu trying to finish the job, Bin trying to protect his support. And protect him he will, as Wei then dives on in, and Knight looks for revenge! How dare you try and kill the cow! Elk now in a 1v3, satchels away, as Breathe looks to punish anything, but the Braum stacks are gone! And On surviving the prior play arrives to save his AD carry! Breathe finds nothing! BLG are invincible!
Weibo find nothing, BLG find everything. They are the decisive team with these teleports. They are the decisive team of pulling the trigger. And once again, everything comes up BLG. They'll take themselves this Baron, and they'll take themselves absolutely firmly the driving seat in this game if they weren't already in it. They can use this to start pushing out the map. They weren't already doing that already, and they'll be able to use this to tide over into the next dragon as well. BLG, I am just in awe at how decisive they have been. This has been a good, clean couple of games of League of Legends from them, which hasn't been something we've seen consistently from them in Summer. This is a great look from our reigning champions.
I mean, it's just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. This initial assassination on Tarzan is just like, set up the CC, and in comes the bombs and the rockets.
On has been so good at getting these really quick plays again. The whole team, quick teleports, but also the quick responses. The locket comes in to saves him, the backstep on the Q. On, buddy, he's back. This guy's had a lot of criticism from me and a lot of others over the course of the year, but the decisive play, not just from the Alistar, from Wei as well, just continually catching these weird oversteps from Weibo has been really powerful and consistent. The fact that they're surviving by these margins too means they can just improvise their way through the back end of team fights. This should not be possible, but BLG make it happen.
Oh, it's so fun to watch BLG team fight, isn't it? They're just too good. And Xiaohu's got underneath the tower, Bin flashes for it, and will find the stun. He'll find the kill, and he'll find himself alone in a 1v3. The rest of the gang on the way, and Sterix will save the day. Bin turns it around onto Breathe and chases him into the base. Breathe is the one retreating as Chris falls. How do they never die?
I have no idea. Look, sometimes I think BLG are the Picasso of League of Legends. They understand the rules of the game. They understand how to break them too. They are improvisers in so many of these games. They just somehow make this work. Tarzan's caught out now as well. He can't even get back to his base. Knight checking out these brushes with Boss Bomb. BLG, blink and you miss it. Again, the game has just evaporated away from Weibo.
It's going to be a mid-tower. Tarzan looking for a 1v1 on Knight, feeling confident. And he'll take it as well. A TP used by Xiaohu just to make sure. And perhaps a chance for Weibo to turn things around here. With Knight dead for 40 seconds, what can they get on the map?
That's a good question. Breathe doesn't have flash, does have Mega coming up just now.
On perhaps overzealous on this engage. Requiem going to come through for good measure as well. And now with a second pick, perhaps a bit of a snowball starting to roll for Weibo. Tempo all in their favor. Drake coming up in 30 seconds and an arrow onto Elk as well. Wait, trying to play bodyguard here, but he doesn't have an Alistar orbit, but he does have a Croc alongside him. Bin turns it around. Elk out of mana though, but it's still a 3 for 3.
It's a 3 for 3 after we were just praising BLG for having 2 clean games of League of Legends. Wow, we haven't seen that as much in summer. Yeah, because they're just as likely to do stuff like this across the Ascension stage and the group stage before that. BLG having a bit of a happy moment. Yes, they are improvising. They're typically very good at that. But sometimes the jazz rhythm of this music will sometimes not conform to clean League of Legends. They do manage to get themselves back on the map, but aren't going to get themselves that dragon afterwards. BLG should still be able to get themselves the second of the game. That probably should have been a Death Baron. That probably should have been the end of the game. Doesn't quite end up being that, though, as BLG will have to wait a little bit longer. Weibo, they walk away with some bloody lips. They just about survive after this point. Starts with another Maokai ult. I mean, this Maokai ult is completely game-changing. And managed to cash out Xiaohu again.
I thought it was doomed there when he didn't quite get the auto through, but then here, like the fact he survives this, 3 of them hitting away, the stun comes in, but Hysterics just soaks so much damage, and then Breathe turns mini. I mean, what can Breathe do against a Dominus Renekton as mini Gnar?
3 levels down as well, by the way. Somewhat helps a little bit when you have such ridiculous base damage. You see that again here too, level 16. I mean, you know, he has himself that max level of the Dominus. Turns out the damage over time is actually quite nice there too. Gets himself a lot. He does end up getting taken down, but you know, when you lose Tarzan too, the most powerful person on your own team, that's always going to suck. BLG now just get ready to set up for another push in, maybe get themselves another opening hit.
And I have to say, like, if Light doesn't have flash there, I think that's just a one fight for BLG. Like, Light being able to get away from the Croc, get over that wall is the only reason that goes even for Weibo. 9 spots. The arrow coming. Valkyrie's away, keeps himself alive. It's a 7,000 gold lead. Well, 6.5, I guess. 1,000 gold lead for the side of BLG. They've exploded this game now. And Breathe finally gets a chance to push out in a side lane, get some gold for himself. I mean, that 700 gold has now minimized the lead that Bin has to only 3,000 individually.
Wow. Yeah,
basically
definitely
even,
not.
right?
Yeah, definitely not an item and a half behind or something like that. That has been game-changing, because when we were looking through the draft, we were saying, hey, there are actually really good aggressive options here from Weibo, because you have the AShe Braum, you hit an arrow, follow up with the Braum passive, and then the Karthus ult comes through. We've never really got to see that, because BLG have monstered the map. Bin starts winning these side lanes. I think Bin, he was in with a shout for me for MVP of the league. I think Tien's been fantastic and he absolutely deserves that, but Bin is still such a massive player for his team, and you know, he's got a huge amount of XP here. Breathe needs to be so careful in this 1v1. Bin has been controlling the map so hard that Weibo can't look for those aggressive engages, and BLG, they can do what the heck they want in these side lanes.
Now you've been looking for just enemy red buffs at this point, continuing to layer the pressure in, and you're right, Bin has had an absolutely phenomenal year for himself. 5 MVPs across the course of the summer. Not that impressive of a number compared to the league overall, but that's because, you know, Elk also got 6, Knight also got 5, On also got 3. Like, it's steep competition within this team to grab MVPs when you've got a super team like this. And ultimately, today was a bit of a clash of somewhat super teams, right? Knight and Wei joining this BLG roster, and Weibo being put together. Some massive names across this list. All of them either winning trophies or getting damn close over their careers. And it feels like BLG, they are looking for that second trophy. They've only got 1 so far, Elk and On at least. And they're hoping for a second this year. And so far this series, they are feeling like championship form. Bin caught in the mid lane, the Requiem sets up for a potential pick as the rest of the squad just evaporate crisp. Baron gone, Bin still survived by the way, as he turns it back around on Breathe, and here comes Knight to finish the job. Red buff slow is more than enough to finish another BLG. They're just styling on Weibo. This is a straight up victory lap at this point. Light will be caught out as everybody barrels on into the play, and BLG show everyone how it's done.
Weibo have been vitrified, turned to glass and shattered by BLG. They'll march in. It took them an extra Baron, but it's all BLG. All game long here, 2 games down.
Weibo are just glass waiting to be smashed, to quote Eric, as Weibo fall underneath their towers. Xiaohu desperately trying to survive, but he won't even be allowed to get onto his fountain. BLG, they make these fights look easy. This has been somewhat brutal in the first 2 games as BLG remind the world that they are the first seed.
See whether BLG can close this series out cleanly for themselves, but I'm getting a little bit scared for the rest of the top 4, Joe, because BLG, I thought there was an opening here. I thought they weren't looking as good as they were in spring, and I thought that maybe there was an option for some other teams to make a break towards that title. BLG looked great today. They looked really, really good today. And on the other side, I think that Tarzan has had some good games himself, and I think that he has been a real star for Weibo the entirety of their kind of winning streak, their uptick in form throughout the second half of this summer, but it is just not enough against this monstrous BLG, which seems to have woken up and just completely locked in.
At risk of speaking too early and ruining everything, BLG playoffs comes alive. Knight in another team that loses a lot of silly games during the split and then gets to playoffs and dominates. BLG looking fantastic. Weibo have to find something. We're going to jump into a break and find out if Weibo can fight back or if this is just BLG through and through.